pronounce. It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now. I won't stop till I wear the crown. Let's go. I'm just telling you to fight for your dreams, but it's not what it seems. Man, it's hard to be seen when everybody wants to be king. Yeah, they all want to ring. Yeah, we all want to be free.
Doing another live show here on Lions Nation Unite. Talk our Detroit Lions. What's been going on in the news? What's going on in the rumors? And, of course, we got a game on Saturday. Preseason week 2, Lions versus Jacksonville Jaguars. Going to be a fun time for sure. We got Man Bear Pig in the building. What's going on, bro? We got Mofo Jimbo. We got Brent DeWitt, 9 Drinks, and Broader all in the building. Appreciate you guys coming in here for sure. Don't know if other people will show up. I sent the link out, so we'll see. But we're going to go with the flow for sure. Love what I saw from our Detroit Lions Friday. Man, so many good things. But guess what? Got to repeat it on Saturday. We got to be able to get consistency with some of these players to show their lovely athletic ability and football skills on the gridiron versus the Jacksonville Jaguars to get that consistency, potential for them to make the 53-man roster, and a lot to get into. Why? Because it's basically the season, right? The season's pretty much here. Even though it's preseason, it's actually live football. Can't wait to get into it. I think the biggest question here, what's up, Raw Podcast? Are the starters going to play at all in the preseason week 2? Maybe they'll get a series. Maybe. I don't know. Haven't heard anything from Dan Campbell on this one. I would like to see one series from the starters. I would like to see Jahmyr Gibbs behind this offensive line, what he could do, because the offensive line was booty cheeks last week, and I'd like to see what he can do with a very good offensive line and, you know, how he translate on the field. That's just my personal preference. Why? Because I'm a Lions fan. Why? I want to see these guys play. Why? That's exactly what we do. We theme for our Detroit Lions. So I would like to see Jahmyr Gibbs with this offensive line. That's what I like to do. We're going to see plenty of Jameson Williams. We got to see from him is no drops. This guy's got to be able to come into this game on Saturday and not drop the football. That's really it. We got to get this guy to hold on to the football, get more consistent and comfortable with that. He's got fantastic athletic ability, speed, dimension, all of that lovely stuff, but we need this guy to get the football. But guess what? There's going to be a quarterback who's actually going to be able to throw the football, and his name is Teddy Bridgewater. So that's really good. It's not going to be Nate Studfield, released field here soon. It's going to be Teddy Bridgewater, whom in practice yesterday threw a nice pass to Jameson Williams, resulting in him making a big play. So that's the type of stuff you need. You need a quarterback able to throw you that football, able to get you that football, and it's going to help out all the receivers that's battling for these spots. It's going to help them out. We got, Chase Cota in there. We got Dylan in there. Like we got some wide receivers. Maurice Alexander, who's also the kick returner, who's battling as well for those catches that they need to get. Now, I'd rather have somebody who knows how to throw them the football for us to be able to really grade it. It's hard to grade when the ball is 2 yards ahead of you. When you're unable to have an accurate quarterback throw a football, and in the National Football League, that's absolutely unacceptable to have a 2-yard pass high than your receiver can get. That's just extremely inaccurate, and it's hard to really judge on all these guys when you have a Sudfield in there. So it's going to be really nice to see Teddy Bridgewater get what he's doing and the amount of snaps he gets. I don't know exactly how amount of snaps he's going to get. Remember, it'd only be about a week of him in practice. So it's not like he's going to fully understand the playbook, but the accuracy and the command will be much improved from what it was from Sudfield. And I'm sure Sudfield will get some time as well in this game. That will be maybe a quarter that we don't get back from our life. And then we'll see some Martinez as well. And who knows, maybe Jared Goff gets a series or not. I haven't heard anything on it. Don't really know as of yet. The running back position is really intriguing too. And who is going to be the guy getting, that final roster spot for the Detroit Lions? Who is going to be the guy to snag it? Because there's a lot of players on there, and man, there's a lot of running backs. You got Jahmyr Gibbs. We know Mo Ibrahim. Is he going to be able to come in and do a good job? Ozigbo, Snell. I think Snell had the best game out of the backups between Jamar Jefferson and all those guys and Kabinda. I thought he was the better of those folks. We'll see. Can he do it consistently? Can these guys rise? Can Mo Ibrahim come in here and rise? But no doubt about it, he'll be on the practice. I don't care if he's on the practice. Suggs can go on the practice squad. I don't care. I don't care about that as long as he's not the backup quarterback. The practice squad is perfectly fine for him to be on, but the active roster is not perfectly fine for him to be on. But I'd like to see Snell, Ozigbo, and Mo Ibrahim in there battling it out for that final running back spot. And Snell did look good. He had burst off the line. He was hitting the holes, even though the offensive line wasn't the greatest for these running backs. He did the best he can do. Craig Reynolds in there, so not sure how Craig Reynolds will be on this roster. Well, I think he will be on the roster for sure. I mean, he didn't even play in the first preseason game. That means they're probably happy with him. I think Craig Reynolds has got the spot, but we'll see. Maybe he'll get some action on preseason 2. David Montgomery potentially could get some action, but he's definitely our number one back right now, him and Jahmyr Gibbs. Whatever you want to, Swiss Army knife Gibbs, whatever you want to call him, but he's in there. So I'm not too worried about those guys, except for I just want to see Jahmyr Gibbs with the first team offensive line. But other than that, we're battling out to see who's going to be that final running back for the Detroit Lions. The big battle here too is the offensive line, the backup guys. My goodness. It's been rough watching the backups here. Nobody's really holding it down for the guard or the tackle position. Matt Nelson, not that good. He's just not that good, and he wasn't doing a good job. I think the only guys that you're for sure is Graham Glasgow and Sorsdale. I think that obviously they're going to be here, but who's going to be competing as well? Who's going to get in there and get that backup tackle spot? It's difficult. It's absolutely difficult to look at because there's a lot of people in the mix and there's no one standing really out. So my thought process is, and maybe when it comes to a backup tackle, it could be a process where they find a backup tackle, when other teams cut the roster down to 53, because just nobody's standing out there. So that's something we got to watch for. That position for the backup role. Tight ends, we want to see Laporta catch a football. Not getting one target, one drop is not something that we'd like to see. So hopefully he can come in there and show him stuff. James Mitchell looked good. Brock Wright looked like Brock Wright. So we just need Sam Laporta come in there and do his thing. James Mitchell was doing a really good job. Happy for James Mitchell. Looks like he's going to have a much better season this year. Obviously, he was injured last year, and he looks comfortable, fast, and he was catching the football. And we need him to step up for that number 2 tight end spot for sure. I see in here the special teams, the kicking position is going to come down to preseason 3. Riley Patterson versus Romo. I do think Patterson has the edge up, but Romo's not out of it at all. They got to battle it out, and they got to make their field goals and be consistent. They got to do that in this game and in the final game versus the Carolina Panthers. Again, we'll be live streaming this game at 12:30 p.m. on the channel here, talking Lions versus the Jacksonville Jaguars and play-by-play commentary. It's going to be absolutely fantastic on here. We'll do the post-game show, so get ready for that. It'll probably be about, 4:15-ish is when the post-game show will start, around there. So just kind of expect it. Give me a couple minutes to set it up, and then we'll talk about the good, bad, and the ugly. The defense, man, the defensive line was absolutely beautiful, and they did a fantastic job. Cuts there is going to be difficult. Cuts for the defensive line is going to be hard. Cuts for the defensive line, we could be seeing a I didn't expect that guy getting cut type of situation. Julian definitely looked like he gained some muscle. He looked bigger. He definitely looked bigger. And I was knowing that mofo, looking at him, and I was like, wow, he does look bigger, stronger, and faster, all of that. So I don't know what he did this offseason, but just from the looks, he looks good. And obviously the 3 sacks looks great. Good job for him. But this defensive line depth is very good. We'll see what Levi Muzurike can do. Can Levi come out there and do a good job again? Like, he made one good play, one bad play. But I think the best thing is he's playing. I think my expectations were completely off for him, and he's come in here and he's playing, and I love it. So we got to watch Levi Muzurike and the rest of the defensive line. They're just really good right now. And if the defensive line replicates the success versus the Giants, versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, then we're seeing something that is not just an anomaly. It's more of what is occurring. And could the defensive line just have been because the Giants' offensive line is really terrible? It's possible. So that's why we got to see consistency in the Jacksonville game. If the defensive line does it again, oh man, I'm really looking forward to the Lions season. Really looking forward to the Lions season. That means that defense is going to be much improved. When you have a defensive line that can get after the quarterback, much better. And then you go to the linebackers. Jack Campbell, one of the best rated linebackers, coming out there, tackling, stopping the running back, and his decision making was on point. Tackled, and guess what? That's something that we haven't seen in Detroit. A guy who can tackle, right? And he's a tackling machine. Derek Barnes looked good, and Malcolm Rodriguez looked good. All of them look good. Jalen Reeves-Maybin looked good. They look improved. And it does help when your defensive line is good. It does make your linebackers look better. It does. Thoughts on Patrick playing 1 quarter for the Chiefs? Should Goff get a lot more snaps to be ready? I don't really necessarily believe that he does. The Lions offense is really good. I'm convinced they're still going to be good. Maybe one series. I wouldn't necessarily need to see Jared Goff for a quarter. I really don't. I know what he can do. Amon-Ra St. Brown can do. I have a great idea of what the offensive line can do, some of these receivers, but I don't necessarily need to see him do a quarter. It's a long 17-game season, and plus we're probably going to be in the playoffs. So I understand if they want to reduce the amount of snaps, and I understand it fully. And you don't want to get these guys injured, but maybe a series for the first string, and I'm fine with that. Absolutely fine with that. Jack Campbell is a dog. He absolutely is a dog. Raw podcast, and he's giving an element to this linebacking core that we haven't seen in a while. So it's really good to have a tackling machine, somebody that knows how to tackle. Then you go to the safeties, in which this is something coming up, folks, and we're going to have to talk about it here. Because in practice, and we've seen it, you got C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Kirby Joseph as your safeties, Brian Branch in the nickel. What is the name that you're not seeing there as a starter, really? Tracy Walker. What does that mean? I agree. I want to see Brian Branch, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and Kirby Joseph on the field. I think they are the best 3. And I like Tracy Walker, but at the end of the day, those 3 are a little more talented. What does that mean for Tracy Walker? He's getting paid pretty good money, and if he's getting his role reduced, I don't know if that's something that we can have as a backup. Maybe you can use him as a trade bait. I don't know. But that is something that we're going to be having to talk about here soon, because Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, and CJ, they're good. They need to be on the field. They need to be on the field. These guys are dogs. Okay, they are dogs. We've seen from Brian Branch his speed, the way he hits. Again, his decision making is on par. CJ Gardner-Johnson, we didn't see him play, but he's damn good. We already know that. Kirby Joseph is damn good. We already know it. We already know it. It was Brian Branch. Can this guy show that he is a starter? And yes, he showed he's a starter. That's what he is. I want to see those guys out there. Kaminsky, right there, Chad, 100%. He's looking great for the Lions. Great for Detroit. So the safety position is stacked. Absolutely stacked there. I mean, we got players galore. The cornerback position, pretty good. We're just really waiting on Emmanuel Mosley's health. That's really it. Will he be starting week 1? Is he going to be able to be healthy for that game? We do need him. Other than that, we know Cam Sutton, Jerry Jacobs, pretty good. We know what they bring to the table. And then you're going to have Brian Branch in the nickel or CJ in the nickel. Those guys are going to flip-flop. That's a pretty good one. But once you get Emmanuel Mosley in there, the corner position's good. So we just need to see consistency from those players. And when it comes to the cornerback position, Starling Thomas. I don't like Will Harris. I'm going to keep it 100. Chase Lucas, Starling Thomas over Will Harris. Will Harris showed what he can do. It's the same thing. Starling Thomas has a better ceiling. Chase Lucas has a better ceiling. We've seen enough of this guy. So I want to see Starling Thomas come in here and build upon what he's been doing in OTAs, training camp, and preseason 1. Come in there and take up one of these backup roles. He can do it. Much better. Chase Lucas, I think he's better than Will Harris. I think he has a better ceiling. Maybe Will Harris is quote-unquote better right now, but I think Chase Lucas is better. He's younger and has a higher ceiling. And that's the way that I see it. Week 3, 4 for Mosley, that's the rumor. It's something we're going to have to wait on. We don't really know as of right now. Am I worried? Not really, because I know what Jerry Jacobs could bring, but I would like to see the guy who we signed. But again, it is a 17-game season. It's a long season. So there's going to be players that don't play, and it's going to be throughout the season. Emmanuel Mosley is just to start the beginning. And you got Jamison Williams suspended the first 6 games, and that's the importance of that depth position. And Jerry Jacobs, I'm fine as a player who's going to be in the depth. 100% fine. That's going to be fun to watch for sure. Are you kidding? Walker is staying this season depth. Next year he goes. I'm just saying right now, he's getting paid starter money, but yet Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, and CJ Gardner-Johnson are ahead of him. So that's not a kid. That's an actual fact. So we have to talk about it. It's a fact of what's taking place in training camp, and it's a fact of what's taking place on the field right now. You got to put the best 11 on defense out there. And I like Tracy Walker. It's not a knock on him. It's just because Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch, and CJ is just better, in my opinion. It's not a knock. It's what happens when your roster gets upgraded on a consistent basis. This is what happens when you draft, and your draft is on target. You're going to have players whom are pretty good no longer, be there. That's how your roster goes to the next level. That's how you get a good roster. That's what's going to happen. Isn't that the positive problem with Walker? Can't wait for Branch to pick off Love. That's going to be nice. Branch is going to get hurt this season. Look, everybody's going to get nicked up this season. That's just a part of the National Football League. I don't know if he's just going to be hurt. Like, to me, to say that this guy's going to get hurt and he's going to be out 5 games, I don't know anything about that, but there's definitely, you got to have your depth for sure. No doubt Lions may trade Walker if he's making money. It's about the money for him. Now, do they trade him? Probably not, but I mean, you're talking about he's a backup right now. How has Harris stayed on this team? He is trash. I don't know. He has stayed on this team through I don't know. He must be such a great locker room guy that's the reason why, because when you look at all the other players that play safety and cornerback, because he's a universal, they're better than him. And talent-wise, the only time you hear about Will Harris if who's get beaten coverage. That's not good. They attack Will Harris over Brian Branch. Brian Branch is a rookie, and they attacked him more. It just shows that the talent is much different there. So, yeah, I don't know. If you got questions, throw it in the comment section. Definitely throw it in the comment section. We all know that Brad Holmes does when he has draft capital. He's such a great drafter. I said Branch will hurt someone. Oh, okay. I thought you were saying. I see what you're saying. Walker will take a cut to stay with this team. He wants to win. F the money. Look, that'd be cool. That'd be absolutely cool. I mean, you've seen other people take pay cuts, right? Charles Harris and Romeo Aquara, they took pay cuts to stay with the team. CJ Gardner-Johnson, in my opinion, probably could have got more in free agency, but he decided to come to Detroit. The year trade, trade him because all know Brad Holmes does with the draft capital. Brad Holmes is great with the draft. I mean, geez. And this is why we're in such a great position year 3 for this regime, is because Brad Holmes' ability to find talent has exponentially pushed the rebuild up to where the Lions are contenders. $2 super chat from Robert Lane. Way too early prediction. Lions MVP this season. Thank you so much for that $2 super chat. Lions MVP for this season. I don't think it's going to be too hard for me to say Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think he probably could be the Lions MVP this year. He's just so consistent, so good in his route running, amazing with hands. His work ethic is top notch. St. Brown is such a baller. He's a dog on all fronts, and he stays healthy. He goes through pain. Whew. Like, it's hard not to look at him and say he's one of the biggest building blocks of this football team. St. Brown is just such a good player all around. He's just a 10 on every mark. He just is. Don't forget to like the stream. Absolutely. Smash that like button. It does help out for sure. For sure. Clinton Harris says Jared Goff MVP. As when it comes to the quarterback position, is the most important position on the team. And if you take away Jared Goff, it is a fallback for sure. It is a fallback to Teddy Bridgewater. You don't want your starting quarterback to go down, but I think that pretty much goes for every team. If you're talking about value from position, absolutely, he's the most valuable player. But if you're just talking from a talent perspective, St. Brown is in there. Maybe Penei Sewell is in that mix. You're talking about players who are just really dang good. You know, Aiden Hutchinson would be in that mix for sure. CJ Gardner-Johnson in that mix. But from the positional value, of course, absolutely. That's not even a question mark. Because if you're to remove CJ Gardner-Johnson, I still think the secondary could handle it. If you remove Amon-Ra St. Brown, I do think that the wide receivers still could get some work in. But if you remove Jared Goff, it's a big fall. So that is 100% correct. Talking draft pick before the season starts, shaking my head. Who's talking draft pick before the season? Nobody's talking draft pick before the season starts. We're talking about playoffs here. No one is talking about a draft pick before the season starts. Where'd you get that from, man? I never talk about no draft pick. I don't even talk about the draft until week 4, and that's talking into prospects. I ain't talking about no draft pick right now. What's the temp in Arizona today? Hot. I don't know. It's probably hot. It says 99 degrees. What up, Doe? Lions win only because Goff, because take him away, the Lions almost a winless team. Walker causes Holmes. You just said trade Walker because Holmes is a good draft pick. Is that talking about the draft? Am I talking about the NFL draft? If you're to trade a player right now, I don't know, we traded for Denzel Mims. We traded a draft pick away for Denzel Mims. Am I talking about the NFL draft? Or you're just talking about trading a player. So if the Lions were to trade a player right now or before the 53-man roster and they get a 7th-round draft pick, am I talking about the draft? Or am I just talking about Brad Holmes trading a player? Not once did I talk about draft position or draft picks. Holy smokes, man. Does Detroit give Dan Skipper a call to get some all-line depth? Skipper, man, give him a call. The Skip. I think they'll go ahead and probably pick up an individual at the when teams cut down to 53. That's what I see they're doing here. Is when teams cut down, there may be an offensive tackle or something like that that gets released. The Lions go ahead and scoop him up because these guys are just not showing it right now. Just not showing it right now. Brandon can do his so that I don't even know who Brandon is. Let's see. Our team won the last 8 to 9. That's championship football. They lost or they won 8 out of 10. It definitely is, and it's a new season. Can they build upon it? I think they are building upon it. If you look at what they did with that defensive, like it's all on the defense, right? I think nobody is worried really so much about the offense. Yeah, there wide receiver concerns here and there. Is there backup depth at the offensive line position? Yeah. But are we really worried about the offense? We know what the offense can do. We know Brad or Ben Johnson can do. It's more about the defense. If the defense shows up again with that defensive line, it's over with. Lions are going to be really, really good. Who's starting opposite side of Cam Sutton? Well, it's going to be probably Jerry Jacobs right now because of the injury to Emmanuel Mosley. I think when Emmanuel Mosley comes and is healthy, it'll be Emmanuel Mosley. But I think it's going to be Cam Sutton, Jerry Jacobs, and Brian Branch at the nickel position. That's what I'm starting to see right now. Trade a defensive line for an offensive lineman. That could be an option they do there if we – well, again, there's going to be cuts where you say, oh, man, this player's cut. Why? Because you got a good team. So if you know you're going to cut said player on the defensive line and you need help at offensive line, maybe there's a team that has an overflow of offensive linemen and they lack depth at the defensive line, and you can make a player v player trade. We've seen it multiple times. Mims probably not going anywhere until JMO is back from the suspension. That's kind of my feel, I think, right now. Maybe we'll see some Mims here on Saturday. What do you think about the narrative be if Goff outduels Mahomes? I think the narrative, it depends. National media will actually show Goff a little bit more love. I think that will be the case. They're definitely going to show more love. I think local media, I think you're going to still, it's always been like this in Detroit. You have a quarterback. Fans hate him. Fans love him. And that's just the way that it is. Fans hate, fans love him. So I think this is going to be this case here. If he comes out here and balls out, the fans that love him. And the fans that hate him will say, well, it's the product of Ben Johnson. And then you'll have people like me I'm just going to go with whatever it shows on the field. I have no hate or love unless you're terrible or you're really good. $20 super chat by Mike McCall, the real one. Hashtag FGB. Mike, I think we should release Reynolds and go with the youth upside of Coda. Green, Mims, your thought on this? It's a difficult decision. Thank you so much for that $20 super chat. It's really difficult for this because Josh Reynolds and Jared Goff do have a connection. He is a veteran. We do need to have veterans on this team, especially when the lights are really on, when we're talking about potentially playoff games, right? You want to have individuals that's done it before. With that said, you're correct. Like a Chase Cota, he balled out. Denzel Mims, could he be faster? Green looked good. It's hard. It's a hard one to see. It's difficult, but I do like Josh Reynolds. I think he and Jared Goff get on the same page? And is he the greatest receiver? No, but he catches footballs. And I know, like, if a football gets to Josh Reynolds' hands, I'm pretty confident he's going to catch it. So it's a difficult one. It really, really is. But thank you so much, Mike, for that super chat. Let's see. Jordan Love looked pretty good last week. Green Bay can't get 3 franchise quarterbacks in a row. Question, I didn't watch the game, so let me know so somebody out there who did. I did not watch it. Was Jordan Love and the Green Bay offense going against the second team of who they're playing? I did not watch it. I don't know. So let me know in the comment section if you know that. Which Aquara brothers do you keep? One of them has to go, right? Not necessarily. I think they both stay. Well, as of right now, it could always switch. You know, if Julian sucks, right? It's inconsistent. But if they show that they're sacking people like they did, 3 sacks and 1 sack, you can't let them go. You got to have that. So I don't know. Dylan Drummond reminds me of Patrick Edwards. I feel like JMO show his true potential. He's going to leave because of the hate the city has given him. Man, he's got to come out and ball. Just come out and ball, and all that hate will go away. If he comes out and he's showing great, I think a lot of fans will jump back on his bandwagon. And that's all he's got to do. Don't worry about anything else. Don't worry about when anybody's talking about him. Go out there, catch the football, make plays. Do you think they offered Teddy a chance to coach in the future, perhaps? No, I don't believe that would be the case. What time is it in the UK? Does Ant-Man ever sleep? Ant-Man, let him know. Mike loved Matthew Stafford and gave no reason as a fan to love him because he was a total failure as a Lion. You love Matthew Stafford. Do I love Matthew Stafford? I don't love Matthew Stafford. When the trade happened, I was the first. How many people out there when the trade happened was really upset? And they said Jared Goff is trash. Go back to the archives. When the trade happened, what did I say? I like the trade. I said Jared Goff's not a window licker and a crayon eater like everybody was saying. He's perfectly fine. I was perfectly fine with the trade and happy what we got for it. So you got to look at the archives. You'll see it right there. I was very open about that. I was fine with the trade. He broke his back 2 times. No reason to have Stafford on this football team. I said it was time to trade him. I said it many times. Stafford had great moments in Detroit. He's had bad moments in Detroit. Great moments, him jumping over the line, beating the Dallas Cowboys. I absolutely love that. Beating the Cowboys twice, big fashion. And then he had bad moments where he throws pick sixes, right? So do I hate him? No. Am I in love with him? No, I don't. There's very few players who I say like, this guy is like an all-time great. Megatron, one of those players. Barry Sanders, one of those players. I really, even though I did like Reggie Bush, and he's here too. I like Jahmyr Gibbs. It's not like, generally when I look at these players, I look them at as players. And if there's an upgrade, I don't care really who it is. Upgrade it, position. If they're great and they're good at what they do, I love them. If they suck and they're terrible at what they do, I'm not a fan of them. I just want the team to be better. And the only way for the team to be better is for the Lions to upgrade the roster, in which they have done. And so I'm perfectly fine with that. Lions, how do you feel about Devin Gardner blaming JMO for the second pick because Nate overthrew him? Well, look, Devin Gardner he played quarterback. I had him on Lions Nation Unite for the draft. He knows what he's talking about. Maybe he's seen something that others didn't. And if that's the case, if JMO ran the wrong route or something, then he needs to get his stuff straight. For sure. And we've seen the miscommunication, but there was multiple overthrows by Sudfeld. Sudfeld wasn't perfect beyond anything. It was there's throws there that I was just like, my God, you're not an NFL quarterback. You're looking like Tim Boyle out there. How can you be yards ahead or away? And it was not just Jameson Williams, there's other players as well. Could one of those or a couple of those been the wide receivers? For sure, but not all of them. And that's just not NFL quarterback play. It's not. He's not an NFL quarterback. I love the trade, but the turnaround was going to take longer. Yep, and wanted traded to Indy for more and take longer and wanted traded to Indy. I didn't really. Now look, if the Lions have the ability to upgrade a quarterback position, I'm always for it. But guess what? You asked me about any position. I'm always for it. I'm always for upgrading any part of the roster, any part of the 53. Upgrade, upgrade, upgrade. That's for any position. I think the quarterback position gets such a big, you know, microscope on it because it's the quarterback position. But let's be honest here. If you can upgrade any position, you want to upgrade it. That's what a general manager does. That's how you draft. So I have no infatuation for this guy. I don't care what he does. I'm in seventh heaven. Don't know about the Ibrahim injury. Don't know about it. Must have happened while I was setting up for this. So if anybody knows, let me know. You all have to quit hating on Walker. I don't think anybody hates Walker. Who hates Walker? Walker hasn't done anything to deserve hate. Do I like Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, and CJ Gardner-Johnson over Walker? Yeah. I don't hate Walker. I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think he's the best receiver on the Lions roster. Do I hate Jameson Williams, Khalif Raymond, Josh Reynolds? No. I love them. There's no hate. I don't see any hate for it at all. Just because you think a player is better than another player doesn't mean you hate the other player. No, not at all. Got no hate for Tracy Walker. Snell and the new guy pulling a blank of his name, looking good at running back. Snell was looking really good, and again, I think he's got the track up. We'll see how this preseason goes. You got 2 more games, right? And you got many more practices. But Snell looked good for the limited time he was in there, and I like what I saw. I'll say for you, I understand your relationship with Delvin Garver. Shots to blame. Yeah, man, look, he's got a different perspective, and guess what? He played at a pretty high level, so I'll listen to what he's got to say, too. I'm on board with Goff. Glad he wasn't traded. The only way Goff would have been traded is if the Lions would have got an upgrade over the quarterback position. Since they did not get an upgrade, they wouldn't trade him. So there's no point. If you're gonna get rid of a player, you better get a player better than that individual. And that's not just for Goff, it's for any player on the team, right? Like if you're gonna trade a player, you best get an upgrade. Unlike what we saw with Patricia, they traded Quandre Diggs, brought in Will Harris. That's the type of stuff you don't do. You don't trade away a player who's more talented and bring in a guy to be less talented. That's where you're going backwards with the roster building position. You're talking about during the preseason. Not 100% sure. Let's see here. Somebody called you a snake. Ooh, oh man. Look, I've been called many things in my life, and if you are showing your face on YouTube or any platform, on the news, players, guess what, folks? Guess what? You're going to get called many names, and you better have leather skin. And if you don't have leather skin, well, you're in the wrong business. How many wide receivers do you see keeping in the 53? I'm going to go with 6. 6 wide receivers. And it all really depends, too, what they're going to do with Jameson Williams. Could they put on some sort of exempt thing? I don't know. And if that's the case, then they can bring another one up and then release it when he comes back. But I'm not 100% sure, but I'll say 6 either way. Let's see. How does Will Harris keep being on a roster? I think he is not going to be in the roster after this one. Someone called me bald. I was horrified. Oh, I know, man. Terrible. Let's see. Lions, I thought Will Harris was a rookie. Look, we upgraded the corner room. I have no reason. There's no reason for him to stay on this roster to 53. There's just no reason. We've seen it. What have we not seen from Will Harris? We've seen it. We know his ceiling. We know it. Starling Thomas has a higher ceiling. I think Chase Lucas has a higher ceiling. I'm worried. Hashtag Lions. I'm worried he's gonna not be the guy we saw in Alabama. He will decent kind of. Are you talking about who? You talking about JMO or are you talking about Brian? Brian Branch is amazing. What's going on, Lisa? Who makes a defensive line? Who makes it on the defensive line? Who's leaving? That's tough. That's tough. Obviously, you're going to have John Kaminsky. You're going to have Joshua Pascal. You're going to have Aiden Hutchinson, Isaiah Buggs, Broderick Martin, Aleem McNeil, Charles Harris, Romeo Akwara. And if Julian Akwara performs the way he did this past Friday, he will be on the roster. There's so many talented players. Levi Nuzurike is fighting too. We may see a surprise cut with this defensive line because it's just so talented, and it's unfortunate, when your team is talented at the 53 position, you're going to lose players, and that's what happens. But oh man, it's tough. What's your thoughts on what last wide receiver to make the squad as of now? I like Green. I like Green too. I like what I saw from Green. And Chase Cota, Oregon product. I love what I saw from him. He reminds me of Tom Kennedy. And Green, no, I like what I saw from him. It feels like he can probably do, like, his ceiling's a little bit higher, in my opinion, because of his size, speed, and how he was catching the football. It's going to be tough. But flip a coin there. But I think Green, to me, probably have the edge over Cota, even though Cota was looking really, really good. Again, Tom Kennedy kind of clone, a little bit bigger Tom Kennedy. It's going to be tough. Just saw a clip of St. Brown breaking Will Harris' ankles on the deep comeback route. I mean, this is what we see all the time, right? Will Harris is. Hopefully, it comes to an end. What position do you think lacks depth? I'm thinking linebacker. Man, that's a tough one. What position lacks depth here? With Levi being healthy, I think the defensive line's good. Edge and interior. I like what I saw from the linebackers. Jalen Reeves-Maben was doing good, and he's a backup of the backup. I'm fine with Alex Anzalone, Jack Campbell, Derek Barnes, Malcolm Rodriguez. Then you got Anthony Pittman in there. That's pretty good. The safety position's ridiculous. The cornerback position is good, really good. I mean, especially when Emmanuel Mosley comes back. Maybe the offensive line depth, because we don't know who's going to be the backup role. I'm starting to think that maybe is the biggest one. Tight end's good. Quarterback's great. Wide receivers good. Maybe we don't have a specific talent, but I like like we talked about. I like what I saw from Green and Cota out there, and these are guys battling out for that final spot. So, man, maybe I'll go with backup offensive line. That's really it. What are thoughts on Broderick Martin? I thought he looked good, 9 drinks. He broke the tackle, took the running back down. Did good again. He wasn't perfect, but he was a big-bodied stop in the run. And he got through the offensive line. I remember that one specific play. I was just watching that with Broderick Martin, how he beat his guy and took the running back down. So him and Jack Campbell at the same time. It was really good to see those two rookies. So I think he did fine. He just needs more snaps, right? Lions preseason shows Drummond isn't ready. Maybe wrong with Green, but look different out there. That's why I said, just because you do good in training camp doesn't mean you're necessarily going to be good when it comes to on the field. We've seen that multiple times. So that's why I was a little bit skeptic of dialing out there. A little skeptic, but Green looked good. Green and Cota look good. I think they're ahead. If you're going to ask me, I'd put them ahead for sure. Do we need 8 on the defensive line or more? You talking about edge and tackle? It'd be more. Let's see here. Offensive line depth. Yeah, I think you guys are right. You look through it, that's potentially probably it. And again, they may pick up a guy if someone gets cut. Or that player v player trade before 53-man roster. It's possible. Like, I think we have players to win, but I'm still worried about Dan Campbell and his game management. I guess I could see under why Public Enemy you're a little bit concerned about that. I like his gambling ability. I do like it. But I remember watching, I don't know what game it was, but he went for it on 4th down, I swear, every time. And I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. So hopefully he learned from that. But I think he got better as the season went along. He was growing. I love our defensive prospect starters, but someone has to play special teams. Exactly. And that's where you have Maurice Alexander. It'd be a kick returner, right? Then you have Khalif Raymond as the punt returner. So Maurice Alexander's fighting for that wide receiver spot. So, you got to put Maurice Alexander in there, but he's got to do better catching the football. He had a drop last Friday. Can't have that, but he's a great kick returner. Hashtag Lions Nate tried to lean on JMO's speed to help make himself look good. That's why he kept forcing those throws. Yeah, you know what? Nate Sudfield, you can't force throws. You can't force throws. And that's for any quarterback. Hashtag FGB. Mark, are you still planning on doing the Lions away games at Soaring Eagle Casino this season? I'd like to come hang out again. Should be. That's the thought process right now. If anything changes, I'll definitely let you guys know. But for sure, we're going to be in the setup in the same area if that's the case. And play by play. It's going to be freaking epic. And I can't wait for Kansas City. That's going to be fun. I'm going to be so hyped for that one. Oh, my God. Thoughts on the line sign a guard from the USRL League? Can't hurt. I seen that we signed him. Now, is he going to make the team? Probably not. These are camp body to see if they can do anything. And that's really it. I have no problem with them consistently doing that. I do believe you turn the roster over. Have I looked into it? No, because he's probably not making the roster. But hey, right now, nothing's going on with the backup offensive line. We don't have anybody making a noise. So why not? Hell, sign him, sign anybody. Somebody's got to be able to do something because it ain't Matt Nelson. He ain't doing anything. I mean, good grief. All he does is get thrown on his butt. That's all we're seeing from him. So why not? Why not? Lost this last year was the Vikings game. Yeah, that sucked too. That was a bad loss. We would have made the playoffs. You think about it, if we won that game. Dan Campbell's the only aggressive because the defense is not playing well. He did great after they started playing better. Yeah, he did. He was very aggressive, and especially year one because the team was so bad that you had to be. I think he's still aggressive. He's an aggressive natured coach. I mean, is he going to be too aggressive like that one game where he went 4 or 5 straight fourth downs? I don't think it's going to be the case, but he's still going to be aggressive. I absolutely believe that. But the defense is better too. I mean, literally in this preseason game, they went for it twice on fourth down and the Giants only converted 3 points out of that. So you're still going to see some aggressive nature. And I do like seeing some aggressive nature, just not too aggressive. I'm not a conservative play caller. I like to be a little bit above on the aggressive mark, but not too aggressive. How did Sorsdale do? Didn't catch it. He did okay. That's really it. He did okay. Lions, I wouldn't let Alexander Jr. in the field in the offense because he reminds me of a punt returner we had. Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know why I'm forgetting his name because Jamal Agnew. You're talking about Jamal Agnew, where he played defense as a corner. He ended up being the kick returner, and then they moved him to offense. I feel what you're saying. So yeah, Maurice Alexander, I think, is a great kick returner, but he's got to get better at the wide receiver position. That's his natural position. Who's the best fit at RB3? Craig Reynolds is right now for sure. RB4, I'm going with Snell. I think he's ahead of the game, but Mo Ibrahim still has a chance to fight, and he's going to fight. Everybody's got a chance to fight. It was only one preseason game, so the fight will continue on. Let's see. Do you think Teddy will play a lot in the game Saturday? I think he'll play. I don't know about how a lot. It depends. It depends how much of the playbook he knows. That's something I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Maybe he'll play a quarter. That could be something they do there. But you're definitely going to see him play. He will play. Do you think the strength and conditioning program has been different for us staying more healthy so far? It could have. That's a great question, Derek. I don't know, how. I know they changed it. We all know they changed it, and because it was booty cheeks and everybody was getting injured. I don't know how much of a difference it's making. It could be making a difference for sure. Absolutely. And if that is the case, so happy they did that because we're so used to having a lot of injuries here. And you're right, it just hasn't been as much. I mean, we're seeing dinged up just like any player from any football team, but it's not like it's, man, we lost 20 starters or anything like that like a couple years ago. Hashtag Lions Dan to go for it on fourth almost the whole game if it makes sense. Game cannot be close at all. It just depends. If you have to go for it on fourth every single time, there's a problem with third down. Like you need to change up the third down. Why is it that you're not converting on third down? We should be able to convert on third down with David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs. Those guys should be able to get it. And then Jared Goff, too, pretty good. So that should be a question. If you have so many fourths, why are you not converting on thirds? Yes, Teddy's going to get first string snaps for sure. Yep. No doubt about it. Just don't know how long. Mike, it's do or die. Do or die for a lot of these players. For sure. For sure. And preseason week 2 is a big one on Saturday. The preseason game 3 is nothing. I even consider not even streaming it because it's a lot of these players are not going to be on the football team. I'll still stream it just because I'm going to stream it because that's my job. But I got to tell you what, man, like the third game doesn't really mean a whole lot unless you're looking for just selected players. Score means nothing. Nate Sudfeld will still probably be on the team by then. He won't be after that. A lot of these players won't be on the team. So, 2 is a good one to watch. 1's a good one to watch. 3, not so much. 313 hashtag Lions. We have a chance to beat Kansas City if they convert all those fourth downs when they needed because letting Mahomes in the game is not good. You're right, man. We got to have long, sustained drives. You want to win Kansas City, you keep Patrick Mahomes on the sideline. You know how you do that? Is you run the football. You run the football, kill the clock, keep Mahomes on the sideline, and that's why we got a two-headed monster in Montgomery and Gibbs. Behind this offensive line, watching these two is going to be glorious. That's why I want to see Gibbs in this next game behind the offensive line, the starting offensive line. Holy smokes, it's going to be good because he can read a hole and he's patient. He follows his blockers. If you watch Jahmyr Gibbs, he follows his blockers. So imagine having a great offensive line like Penei Sewell and Frank, Jonah, all these guys, and he's following him. He's going to get some good yards. Just saying, Dylan Drummond is Dylan Drummond. Dylan Drummond. Well, look, in a couple weeks, it may not matter if he gets cut. He may be a practice squatter guy. It's preseason practice for you, Mike. Gotta get everything tight for the real games. Gotta be tight for the real games. But guess what? I won't have to know 90 players' names. I only have to know generally 53 and more close to more like 22. It takes a little bit of time, right? Some of these names is just crazy. It took me a while to get Levi and Uzurike. Hashtag Lions. A Lions schedule is not pretty. What is your realistic record for the first 6 weeks? I could say 4-3. I think is realistic. Sorry, 3-3. 4-3 would be the first 7 weeks, but somewhere around there, around 500. I think that's a realistic when you look at the first 6 games. If the Lions go 1-6, it's going to be a problem. But if they can stay within, 500 in that area, I'm not too worried. That would be nice. Mike Ed is saying it's pronounced Dylan Drummond, not Dylan Drummond. Hey, how about I just go with Drummond? There we go. Luke G's Field Review. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe to Luke G's Field Review, friend of the channel. He is listening, but working. Why? Because he's always working. And that's hashtag facts. Smash the like button. Let's get that ultra combo. Yeah, I don't know if we're going to get an ultra combo, but if you are not subscribed, subscribe. If you haven't hit that like button, hit it.
Ultra combo breaker. Ultra combo.
Vikings have a brutal schedule, and I don't think the Vikings are going to win 11. What is it? 11? It was a ridiculous amount of games in the last minute. I don't think that's going to be the case at all. Do you know if the Packers faced their first string offense, faced the first string defense? I don't know. I'll have to look. It's realistic to say 10 wins. I have 11 wins for the Lions. I have 11 wins this year. I think that's absolutely realistic. I think they can improve 2 games from last year. I think their roster's improved. Jack Campbell, Jahmyr Gibbs, Broderick Martin, Sam Laporta, and Brian Branch are players that's going to get a significant amount of time. If you look at C.J. Gardner and Cam Sutton, Emmanuel Mosley when he's out there, they're an upgrade for sure. Says, real question, who is the division could really be a problem for the Lions? I think Minnesota takes a step back, but they were a 13-win team last year. So I still think that they're going to be, a 9-win football team. That's kind of where I have them. I have the Chicago Bears 7-8 wins. And we really don't know what's going on with the Green Bay Packers. We don't know what they have in Jordan Love. So I don't know with them, but I'll go still with the Vikings. I think they're, they got a good offense. Justin Jefferson is a fantastic receiver. And they did upgrade defensive coordinator. So I think that they'll be an issue. And I think the Bears' mobile quarterback is going to be an issue for the Lions. It always has, but they could be 7-8 win football team. And again, I couldn't tell you what the Packers are going to be. Packers first string played 2 series versus Bengals second string. Well, there you go. So it's hard to really judge then at that point. When your first string is going against second string, you better win those matchups, or that's really a bad sign. Like, you better win the matchups if your first string is going against second string. I think the Bears could be a real problem for us. They could be. I mean, they're a better football team, and we nearly lost in Chicago last year. Remember, I don't think people remember that, but we swept the Bears, but we did nearly lose that game, so that's a problem. Division games are always tough. Yep, the Lions will be 4-2 in the division. That seems realistic right there, 4-2. I think that's very possible. The division, it's always hard. In any division, you look at other great teams, they lose division games. It's tough. That's what happens when you see a team twice a year. They know each other. Even good teams in a division can lose to bad teams in the division. That's just the way that it works. And that's the way that it is. Folks, we've been on for about an hour, and I got other things I got to do. So guess what that means? That means it's time to go. So I appreciate everybody hanging out. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe to Luke G. Make sure you subscribe to Lions Nation Unite. Make sure you subscribe to Roar of the Lions UK. Make sure you subscribe to Wolva Lion. Make sure you subscribe to every single content creator on this platform, because they're taking time out of their day to give you content. That's what it's all about, folks. Whether you like us or not, hey, subscribe, support the locals, and have a good time. With that said, folks, adios.
I feel nauseous, believe me. Never had a lot of shit come easy. Had to work hard, struggle just to be me. Had to rise up just so they could see me. Did what I had to do just to feed me, and what was left over I put towards my dreaming. But the only thing in life that has meaning are the things you gotta work for, believe me. Take into your hands a plan, your own hands can land your own brand. And damn, I feel like no one takes accountability. They want the credibility, convincingly unwilling to put in the hours it takes to get some power. Don't be f***ing sour, take a cold shower. Scream until you're louder, work until you're prouder. And f*** all the doubters, they're just your downers. I swear to God they all let me down. I always fought just to wear the crown. I'm off at these fucking clowns who were all taught they deserve an ounce. It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth